Okay, so sitting here with Dr. Ike Reighard. Ike, how are you?
I'm doing terrific.
So Ike is what I like to refer to as the Chief Inspiration Officer. So we've known each other for a long time, but I was much, much younger when I first got to know you. So I like to share my Ike story for everyone. I guess I think I was 15 years old. My wife invited me to her church in Fayetteville, Georgia. And I says, well, I got a church, and I like my church. Why don't we go to my church? And she goes, well, I want you to come to my church. And just like, most circumstances, you're the boyfriend, that's the girlfriend. They pretty much went out.
Yeah, they do.
So I was like, okay, we'll go to your church. So we went with her to the church there, New Hope Baptist Church there in Fayetteville, Georgia. And from that moment on, I was captivated by, your delivery of message. You're able to connect with people and that sort of thing. So that kind of began the relationship there, and I ended up becoming a member at New Hope Baptist Church. It was a great time. You married my wife and I. You remember that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were 21 years old. Don't tell my kids that we were 21 when we got married, because one of them's already there. So
you guys were so young you didn't know whether to go on a honeymoon or go to summer camp or Six Flags, right? Just children.
But it was great, and it's been a lot of fun since then. Now, you've got a great history of working with businesses and helping those companies become great companies by connecting with the people at these organizations, like your past history with Home Bank Mortgage Corporation, and directing them and leading them to be one of the best places to work in all of the United States of America.
Right.
So I remember watching all that play out, back in the day, and I was like, if I ever get the chance to do this again with a real estate company, I would love the opportunity to have Ike Reighard be a part of it and be the Chief Inspiration Officer and do what he does best with people, right? So we appreciate you taking us up on that offer and being a part of what we're doing here.
Listen, Todd, what you guys are doing, and now a part of what I'm getting to do, being a part of your family there at Optimus, is one of the great privileges that I've had. You live this life that we all go through, and you think about how all of these different threads are in your life, and at some point it just seems like God brings them all together. And so getting to take the experiences I've had of being 45 years of being a pastor, affiliated in some way with churches, then having the opportunity to be able to be at Home Bank Mortgage Corporation was great as well. So there's the business background. And then working with Ministries as their president and CEO, along with continuing to be a pastor, it just gives me so many different avenues to see people and to see what they go through day in and day out with their lives, and how much it really means to someone when it comes down to their job. You're going to spend 65% of your waking hours either getting ready to go to work, being at work, driving home from work. So why not be in a job that you absolutely love, and an organization that loves you back? And it's not just always about the bottom line, but realizing the greatest bottom line is the relationship with those employees.
Yeah. So, and I've said it, Brian, you can definitely relate to this. When we do our company meetings at the leadership team level, I often say that, look, if we haven't inspired the real estate agents that are at our organization to be the very best that they can be, then we've pretty much failed,
right,
as leaders within our own company. And of course, I kind of copied that from you, because that's part of your daily mission, is to get up every day and inspire people to be the very best they can and inspire others. So
right. Well, the word inspiration, is a Latin word. To inspire is atto, and it actually means to breathe life into something. And everyone has dreams, but sometimes life can get tough. Sometimes business can get tough, and it can begin to wear you down. And so you need inspiration from somewhere. So for me in my life, That's what I've been able to do for these past 40-something years. I know I look way too young to you, Brian, to have been at it that long. But it is something that you gain wisdom along the way, hopefully. I have great mentors in my life. Zig Ziglar was the one who was instrumental in helping me. John Maxwell, I was introduced to by Zig when John was actually running tapes in his garage out in Southern California. So I've been around some really great people. And, you know, the Bible says as iron sharpens iron, so does the countenance of a friend. And that's what helps you to be able to get better at what you're doing, the people you hang around with, which is a fundamental principle that you have.
Yes, absolutely. So to touch on that a little bit, we share some core values at our real estate company, but those core values really come from the people that are there, right?
Right.
People like you, people like Brian, myself, the other leadership team. And one of those values is sort of rejecting, the norms and standards that exist throughout the real estate industry. And we've talked a lot about that over the past. One of those norms and standards that seems to, be ingrained in real estate agents' heads when they first get into business is that, okay, if you want to be more successful, you've got to work harder. You've got to do more open houses. You've got to do more cold calling. You've got to do more manual grunt prospecting. You want more business, then you must do more. And one of my favorite stories, of course, we reject that whole notion at all.
Absolutely.
You have been very successful over your tenure of being very focused, and from what I understand, to accomplish more, you really must do less. And of course, the less is intensely focused. So we're going to talk about that. One of my favorite stories that you tell is from a book by Price Pritchett, U Squared.
That's right.
And so if you don't mind, share that story with everyone here and how that principle plays into really how we start the process with real estate agents at Optimus Real Estate Brokers, if that's okay. Yeah.
I'd love to. Well, first of all, I think all of you will relate to the story that I'm going to share because I think every one of us have spent some time in this particular hotel room that Price Pritchett describes in the book. And he says, it's a warm Midwestern afternoon. He's there in a hotel, and he's got one of those picture windows that's there, and beneath it is the air conditioner. And again, nearly every one of you can relate to that. You've been in that hotel before. And so he says, I'm sitting there, and I'm getting ready to do some writing, and it's such a beautiful day that I walk over and I prop open the door with a chair. And he said, and while I'm sitting there, I'm watching this housefly. And he says this housefly is buzzing around his room, and it will go up and it'll hit that plate glass window, that picture window. And he says it keeps trying to get up more and more speed to hit the window. And he's sitting there and he's watching it take place. And it reminds him almost like a metaphor of life, that sometimes we just keep thinking that if we fly a little bit harder, maybe if we fly a little bit faster, maybe if we just really, stick our heads in there, that somehow we're going to be able to fly through whatever obstacle we're up against. Well, for a housefly, it's that plate glass window that he's flying up against. Now, here's the other question I would ask you, and I know you gentlemen have both seen this. Have you ever seen dead flies on a windowsill?
Oh, yeah.
Well, now you know why. They're trying to fly through the glass. Now, here's where Price Pritchett says it's so interesting. He says 2.5 feet away is an open door. 2.5 feet away is the opportunity for that fly to be able to escape the quandary that it's in, but it does not realize that the door is open. And he says so many times in life, that's where people get to. They just keep thinking, oh, if I can work harder, if I can work longer, then somehow, some way, there's going to be this breakthrough that's going to come through. But the problem is you usually end up dead somewhere on a windowsill. And so you don't want that kind of a life. But what if you could work smarter? What if you could even work less and achieve the dreams that you want to achieve, and then actually, and this is a very novel idea, have the time to be able to spend with the people that you love rather than being at work all the time? That's what fascinates me about what you guys do at Optimus on the operations side of it. It's different than what other realty companies are doing.
Oh, absolutely. Brian?
You know what? I think a lot of agents get stuck in that same spot. And one of the things I like to say is that if I had a goal that I wanted to go to Oklahoma, and I looked down and I said, well, I know Oklahoma's northwest on a map. And so I pull out a compass and I start heading northwest. Is it likely for me to hit Oklahoma? It's possible, but that's where a lot of us are in real estate. We're heading a direction. We think we're going in the right direction. What if somebody could give you the map and tell you exactly how to get there? That's a lot of the things that we're talking about today when we talk about the cause marketing and we talk about the disc profile, a couple of things that are specific that if you knew how to do them, it could change your life.
Yep, absolutely. So you touched on cause marketing, so let's talk about that. There are some business principles at play that most real estate agents, again, industry norms and standards, most real estate agents don't understand really exist. One of them is WIFM. Okay, for example, why should I list my house with you over and above any other agent or just selling it myself? So most sellers are absolutely asking that question of real estate agents either before they call or when they're sitting in front of the real estate agent, right? So, and most agents can't really effectively answer that question. It's not that they're not smart people or hardworking folks or well-educated people. That has nothing to do with it. It's that they've just never been taught or told or given the real tools necessary to be able to communicate with sellers on exactly what they want. So you've heard us say that, okay, sellers want buyers. So if you want buyers, if you want sellers, you're a real estate agent, you want listings, and sellers want buyers, then what must you have in order to get sellers? The very thing that they want, buyers. But most real estate agents, if not all, walk into a seller's house, and they look at the seller and they start talking about all the things they're going to do to advertise the seller's home. We're going to market your home over there. We're going to market it over there. We're going to advertise it here. We're going to advertise it over there. So it becomes a marketing presentation to which the seller responds naturally so you don't have any buyers. And so that very thing right there puts the real estate agent in a position of experiencing downward pressure on commissions because the agent does not have what the seller wants. So if it becomes a contest of marketing or advertising, in other words, if the real estate agent is all they're going to do is just replace the seller, instead of the seller advertising the house, the agent does it, then those real estate commissions of 7% or some such like that, they just kind of diminish and it becomes a race to the bottom. In other words, commoditization. So the same principles apply with referral, with generating referral. So we could ask the same question: why should I refer anyone to you, Mr. Real Estate Agent, over and above not doing it or referring them to another real estate agent? So it's that whole WIFM question: what's in it for me to refer somebody over to you? And most real estate agents can't really effectively answer that question other than, well, because I did a great job for you before. To which we would respond like, okay, well, what about the other people that you did good jobs for, but they didn't send you any referrals?
That's right. And the extent of most people's marketing strategy really comes down to, well, I hope they like me.
Yeah, right.
And that's it. And I'm banking on that for the entire time, right?
And hope is not a strategy, right?
It's not a strategy.
Hope is not good. Yeah, and it is a good principle. I mean, you definitely want to be a hard worker, and you definitely want to give as much as you can give of yourself in circumstances to help people. There's no question about that. It goes back to our mission of Go Serve Big. We'll check on that in a few minutes here and discuss that. But think about that business principle. What's in it for me to refer you business? Okay. So many years ago, we stumbled onto the answer to that question, we believe, in a very, very profound way. And it resulted in this whole aspect of worthy cause or cause marketing, as you like to call it. So let me just kind of pitch it in terms of the referral offer, and then you can touch on this and how big a deal this really is from your lens and perspective. So, for example, if you're the seller or the buyer, the client, and I'm saying, here's why you should refer people to me, it's just better answered just with a referral offer that leverages what we call a worthy cause. So, for example, Mr. Seller or Mr. Buyer, your referrals help the kids. And I'm not talking specifically about my kids. Here's what I'm talking about. We're on a mission this year to raise $25,000 for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. And the reason is they do really good work in helping kids fight through and survive nasty, debilitating diseases like cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, leukemia, and other diseases that just many times just rob the life right out of these young people. And this is where you come in. Again, your referrals really help the kids. See, for every real estate transaction that we do, we just donate a portion of our income to this very worthy cause. So you can see that your referrals really do help the kids. So who do you know, considering making a move, that would benefit not only from our award-winning service that we're going to provide you in getting your home sold, but you can rest assured a very worthy cause is going to benefit as well. So all we did was take that traditional referral offer of, hey, who do you know, considering making a move, you can refer to my real estate sales team, and we just added to it that the answer to that basic question of what's in it for me. So like, hey, what's a child's life worth? Right? That's hard to put a dollar amount on that. See, the industry norm and standard, if they answer this question at all, is to say, well, hey, zip me a referral, and I'll give you a $50 gift card to Longhorn Steakhouse or some such like that. So if that's the case, then what is the referral worth? $50. So you call that cause marketing.
I do.
Right? And you're deeply involved in worthy causes, teaming up with businesses.
That's right.
You refer to it as image rub and a little bit like that. So share with everybody here today a little bit more on cause marketing, your experiences with it. Tell us a little bit about Must and what's going on there, if you don't mind.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Well, I have the privilege of being the president and CEO of an organization called Must Ministries. Last year, Must touched over 30,000 unique individuals. So that means a lot of those individuals came from multiple services that we provide. We basically help people in 4 areas. We help them with shelter. We have a homeless shelter that we run, and every night all together, there's about 200 to 300 people that we have under roofs somewhere. We also help to feed people. We've just finished, you guys were a part of it, as you have been for the last several years, our summer lunch feeding program. Each day, and this is hard to imagine, we feed between 6,000 and 7,000 children that would not be getting a meal during the summer months. They count on going to school to be able to eat. And it breaks my heart when I talk to educators who tell me that kids start getting nervous when a week-long break is coming up or when the summer months are coming up because they're worried about where they're going to get a meal. And for me, I couldn't wait to get out of school. I mean, that was a thrill. There wasn't any anxiety for me about getting out of school. But for a lot of children today, that's what they're facing. So every day, we help to feed 6,000 to 7,000 kids per day, 5 days a week. Well, there's no way that we can do that on our own as an organization. It takes the people like our Optimus family who give toward that effort along with many others. And so what we've been able to do then is not only have that summer feeding program, but we have a food pantry that takes care of people every day. A lot of people have this image of who people in poverty are. Well, here's what I can tell you from our perspective. 84% of everyone that we serve are women and children. That's who's in poverty in this country. So at Must, we help to give shelter. We help to give food. We also help to do clothing at no cost to our clients. And we also help people to be able to get jobs. It's remarkable how many people, over 500 people, got jobs last year. If you extrapolate that into dollars, it turned into right at $7 million back into the economy. But even more than that, the respect and dignity of being able to take care of your family yourself. So those are the things that we do at Must. So we are, in my opinion, a wonderful, 501c3 organization. We cannot do it on our own. It takes funding to help us get there. And that's the genius of what Optimus helps you to be able to do, because nearly everyone has a certain hot button for them. It may be the childhood disease issues. It could be the American Cancer Society. When I was at Home Bank, we raised over $1 million for cancer research while I was there. So Habitat for Humanity. There's all of these great nonprofits. And I promise you, you ask anyone who helps direct those nonprofits, what's your single greatest need? They're all going to turn around and look at you and go, oh, it's funding. We need the funding, because you can have a great mission, but if you do not have the financial margin to be able to help you carry out the mission, then it's just a great idea, but it's an idea that's inert. And so what your contributions do is you help those organizations to be able to make an impact. So now let me tell you what's in it for you from the perspective of you're an organization, you adopt a cause, and you say, this is what we're going to do. How is that going to help you? The number one thing to me, Todd, is it creates the power of positive presumption. Because for most people, when it comes to fundraising, any other number of ideas, there's skepticism that's there. But when you find a really great nonprofit and go on and do your homework and make sure you're supporting the right organizations, when you do that, then people gain a confidence. And when you're involved and they start looking around their community and they see that you're there and you're raising money and you're doing all of these different things for this organization that you've adopted, it will create a positive presumption on people's parts that you're part of the good guy team. You're part of the people that are trying to help make a solution in the world and not just simply look at a problem and turn around and walk the other direction. I know that may not be about selling houses, but let me tell you what it is about, and what every one of you know as a realtor is absolutely essential, and that's the word trust. If you do not have the trust of individuals, they're not going to do business with you. And so if you show that you're not just about making that dollar, but you're about making your community a better place, and you're going to share the overflow of the blessings that you're blessed with in your organization, then it's going to create that image in your community. And what, Todd, you were referring to earlier, I was with Steve Robinson not too long ago, who was over all the marketing for Chick-fil-A for many, many years and is still on their board there. And he was talking about at Chick-fil-A, he said one of the things that was a core principle of Truett Cathy was simply the idea of image rub. And he said they would always ask themselves the question, when they were looking at a business alliance, they'd go, do we want their image to rub off on us? And would we be the kind of company that if our image rubbed off on them, that both companies would do better because of coming together? And so for me, that image rub every day is, in the cause marketing world, is you find a charity that you know is rock solid. Charity Navigator is a great way to check that out. It's a third-party rating system. You can't schmooze your way onto the list. It's done by a lot of different calculations, including how much money you spent on overhead. So at an organization like Must, 15% is spent on overhead of all the dollars that are raised. That means 85 cents of every dollar is going to the programs and helping the people that we refer to as clients. And when word starts getting around that you're a company that does those kinds of things, it just bodes well for everyone.
I don't think that real estate agents really realized, oh, by the way, there's a lot of gold nuggets in what you've been saying here. So I hope everybody's writing these down. And I know you got to write fast. Gold nugget after gold nugget after gold nugget. So be making notes. But real estate agents, I'm not so sure the industry norm and standard, which is really a real estate transaction, if they know how relational it really is. The culture's really moved, shifted, as you would say, in this country a long ways. So what people want is they want an experience. Okay, they want an experience-driven transaction. And so how's that work? Well, it never stops. So which means it becomes relational. So if you want more referrals, if you want more business, then you have to make people a part of your business. And people are dying to be a part of something in their lives today. Hence why reality TV shows are so popular, I like to say, is people are they're looking for something to fill a gap or a void within their own lives. You know, the government's taken a lot. They'll say, look, just give us your money, we'll take care of people. Okay, well, we all know that works to a certain extent, but not to a large extent. So that means that you really should take advantage of the opportunity that's right in front of you and let all of your buyer and seller clients know that you are for them as well as you are for others. So I like that. Most real estate agents get into the business right away. Brian, you can back me up on this. They get into the business, Ike, with this notion of, I want to make more money and I want to have more time. I want to be my own boss. Make more money, be my own boss, have more time, whatever that might be. But that's pretty much the norm and standard. And if that's all their business ever is, in other words, if their business is for them, they never really have one.
That's right.
It never turns into a business. At some point along the line, you must discover that a business is for others. That's how you benefit. We say it as, look, the size of the hole that you give through is proportionate to the size of the hole that you receive through. So that very basic principle is your business must be for others. So you have to align yourself, as Ike said, image rub, you have to align yourself with others, people, systems, businesses, plans, marketing, all that stuff that follows that basic principle, and you can be very, very successful. You've got something to add on that?
Yeah, you know what? It also, when you're thinking about these mindset changes and things that you're looking at changing in your business, I really think about the biggest one of the biggest ones that's a killer to businesses, and that is the scarcity mentality. When we're thinking about our funds, our leads, our clients, everything else. And where did you read about that? What is that yours, or did you steal that from somebody?
No, Brian, I do a lot of R&D, and that's not research and development. That's rip off and duplicate for me. I read constantly. I read at least one book a week. I've been doing that since I was 26 years old because I've never had an original thought on my own. But the whole idea of abundance versus scarcity, the first time I really read about it in depth, there's a great speaker and author named Tim Sanders, and he's just absolutely phenomenal. And Tim wrote a book called Love is the Killer App. In the technology world, if there's a certain application that comes along, it's called a killer app, and that means it's superior to every other way of doing the job and being an application. And so he said that love is the killer app in life, that business shouldn't be about war, that business should be about loving and caring about people. And so in the book, Love is the Killer App, he talks about abundance mentality versus a scarcity mentality. And the way that I really understand it is that I compare it somewhat to food in some ways, which naturally I would. But a scarcity mentality person would look at life and they would see it as a pizza. And there's only so many ways you can slice that pizza. And so if I'm going to give Todd a little piece of that pizza, then wow, I just cut that out of my life and I've given it to him. And if I give you a little slice of that pizza, I mean, everything is constricted and everything, there's a supply and a demand. And my world just keeps constricting. So it doesn't behoove me, if I'm a scarcity mentality person, to help someone else. I'm just going to look out for me. I'm going to look out for number one. And we went through an entire decade that was all about look out for number one back in the 90s. That's what life was about back then. But scarcity mentality, the problem is everything is restricted. And we live in a supply economy today. We do with energy. We do with so many other things. All of life, if you're really going to live, you give. That's what living is really about. And so the abundance mentality says, no, life's not like that pizza. We can only slice it so many ways, but life is more like a candle. And it doesn't matter if I light a candle and I sit here and then I light your candle and then I light your candle, Todd, and I walk around the room and I begin to light all of your candles that are here today. It does not diminish from my candle at all to be lighting your candle. All it simply does is make the room a brighter room. That's what abundance mentality looks at, that you're going to help other people to be able to achieve their dreams and their goals. And I'll tell you, there is something with that altruistic mindset that just changes your life. And I can tell you in particular, with real estate agents today, the average age of a realtor in America today is 58 years old. That's the average age of a realtor. The average age of the person that you're selling to, though, is 32 years old. And there's a social media gap that exists between a 32-year-old and someone that's 58 years old. And so I really challenge you to embrace the changes that are here because change is inevitable. You're not going to stop things from changing. Growth is optional. You get to make that choice right there. Am I going to grow with all of these changes? And so the millennials that are making up that market of whom you're trying to sell to, the largest demographic in the history of the United States are the millennials. You want to be able to connect with them. So one of the ways that I say this to pastors in their churches is that you do not want to be an 8-track tape player in an MP3 downloading world. Just trust me, 8 tracks were nice. I had one, 68 Camaro, Le Mans Blue convertible, white rolled and pleated. Man, that was the sound machine then. And now I can walk around with something this big in my pocket, and all of my music is there, and the podcast and everything else that I listen to on a constant basis. And so the world is changing. So change is inevitable. Growth is optional. And if you want to stay relevant, here's what you better understand. Business today is not just about transactions. It's about relationships. And when it comes to all of the things that we've talked about, if you're not building those relationships, then the referrals that you live and breathe for are not going to be there.
It's true. There's no question about that. So we've covered a lot of ground here. And lots of gold nuggets, like I said. So I'm sure everybody's taking some great notes. Craig Proctor and I wrote the book on Death of the Traditional Real Estate Agent, Rise of the Super Profitable Real Estate Sales Team. And in the book, we make the case that if you are a real estate agent, you either need to be on a super profitable real estate sales team or you need to have your own, okay? So, and the reason is so that you can leverage yourself better. You can just get more accomplished collaborating with a group of people or others that share the same goal. But when you get around working with other people, it requires relationship, like you said. So what makes for really good relationships? Well, many years ago, back on when we had, our real estate sales team, Brian, we kind of live and died internally by the DISC personal concept. And Craig told me a long time ago, back in the early 90s, that this is the secret to successfully selling people, and it's also the secret to successfully managing people, as well as the secret to successfully getting along with others. This whole DISC personal concept.
You know what, I'll tell you, it's been probably over 15 years ago the first time I met Todd, and I came in just a regular agent, and I was doing well. And I told Todd, I'm really good at this. And he says, just wait. And that was one of the first things that I learned, and I promise you, the DISC profile took me from a 60% conversion rate to a 90% conversion rate. Think about that. Meet with the same amount of people but have 30% more business.
Yep. The tendency, like you're saying, Brian, is to sell to people or to communicate with people the way that we like to be communicated with or the way that we're going to be sold to. It's almost like if you're sitting down at the kitchen table with a seller on the other end, so if that's you, Ike, I'm trying to pitch you how we do things almost like it's me sitting over there. That's the tendency. Well, if your personality type is different than mine, you may need more detail or less detail. I may need to speed up or slow down. The approach I may be taking may be wrong altogether. So you're an expert at this DISC personal concept. You share that, basically teach that to the people at our real estate company on a consistent and regular basis. It makes up a core element of how we do things.
Right.
because we're all looking for the secret to successfully being better at all these things, right? And DISC would be one of them. So share a little bit of this with everybody here on how this works, what it is, where you found out about it, and the history on it, if you don't mind.
I have been working with DISC now for nearly 35 years, and I'm trained in it with, to me, the best trainer on the planet is a lady named Judy Suter, and she's just amazing. She does the DISC for the FBI. She does it for the National Security Administration. She's on a level with it that's just astounding. But what DISC is really all about was it was developed by a professor at Harvard University named Marston, William Marston. And he's also the inventor of the lie detector and also created Wonder Woman. So this guy had a breadth of interest in his life. But what he started doing, and it goes back really thousands of years, that there's 4 basic personality temperaments. And the reason that becomes important to you is think of DISC in this way. The D on DISC talks about dominance, and that measures how do you deal with problems. The higher your D, the quicker you deal with problems. The lower your D, the more you'll tend to run away from problems. And so there's just some people on a team that you need that just see problems as a part of the matrix of life. And they're there to help you problem solve. And so D is all about solving the problems. I is about people. High I's on a team are usually the salespeople. That's usually where they're going to fit in. So I's is about how do you deal with people. One of the ways you can measure real quickly about am I an I is that one of my highest points that I'll plot on the instrument that you take to measure all of this. And again, let me point out, it's not a test, it's an instrument. DISC does not measure IQ or anything along those lines. It's just simply, how do you tend to want to work? So here's how you could know if you're a high I. Do you prefer to work alone, or do you prefer to work in a team environment? I'm the kind of person that I hate being by myself because I don't like the company. And so I like for other people to be there. Life's a party to me. The more people you can take with you, the more fun that you're going to have. So the I is about people. How do you interact with people? The more comfortable you are with interacting with people, the higher your I is probably going to be. Then the S is the pace that you deal with. One of the quick questions I can ask to help people determine are they high on the S or are they lower is to ask them how they like change. The higher your S, the more you don't like to change. You like the status quo. You like for things to stay the same. You like to get into your rhythm, and you're just going to stick with that. So it's all about measuring pace. And by the way, 60% of people who take the DISC, their highest plotting point is going to be an S. Because there are people who love routine. Yeah. I happen to be sitting here with 2 people who hate routine. Yeah. And so that would be the thing that would be the death knell to you guys. But to other people, it's the thing that keeps them going. They like that constant rhythm in life, knowing what's going to take place. They'll eat at the same restaurants. They'll go on vacation to the same place every year, those kinds of things, because that's their S in them. So it's all about the pace they like to work on. The C is about procedures. So D, you're dealing with problems. The I, you're talking about how you interact with people. The S, what kind of pace do you want to be on? And then the C is all about procedures, or look at it this way, compliance. Here's how you can know if you are a high C. The higher the C, the more the rule follower you are. In other words, people that are high Cs rarely get something called a speeding ticket. People like us just see that as a part of the matrix of life, that we're going to get a speeding ticket, and when we see the blue lights going around in our rear view mirror, we immediately think, what a great chance to make a new friend and influence someone. So, that's just the way that we look at things. So what you want on a team is you want a combination There is no personality temperament that's better. Now, there's certain personality temperaments that are more oriented, and you want to be in a job where your personality temperament is oriented, because most people are miserable in their jobs. Gallup does a study each year, been doing it for 25 years, millions and millions. I'm talking like 20-something million people have been surveyed now, and they ask this one simple question. Are you engaged in your job? Are you engaged in your job? In other words, do you feel passion for your job? And guys, the scary part of this is 55% of people, and this is over 20-something years of doing this test, and it has stayed almost the same. 55% of people say, I'm not engaged in my job. Now, I'm employed, but I'm not engaged in my job, 55%. 16% say, not only am I not engaged in my job, I am actively disengaged in my job. Have y'all ever had the joy of working with an actively disengaged coworker?
It's not fun.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, it's not fun at all. Because in Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great and Built to Last, he calls these people OBTs, on-board terrorists. They're in your organization, but they're trying to blow it up. Even if they're on the bus that goes up in flames, that's okay as long as they take everybody with them. So you take the 55%, the 16%, add them together, you got a 71% disconnect rate right off the bat.
Yeah.
I mean, just boom. No wonder we're so shocked when we go somewhere and we get great customer service. Or we go to a restaurant that everything just flows. And man, it's an experience when you go there, because that's what people are looking for. Even in buying homes, they're looking for that experience. Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to be able to get people that are engaged. The way that you do that is you use the DISC to be able to build your team. Don't take a high-I person that wants to meet people and say, we want you in here doing all the paperwork. Number one, they're going to be miserable. Number two, you'll probably go to prison at some point. You want someone that's got that great S and that great C that's going to be there. And remember, the way you use the DISC is it is an observable language. So you can actually, and this is what we train you to do, we train you to be able to tell when you're sitting across the table from someone and you're working a deal with them, if you know them better than they even know themselves, don't you think you would be at a distinct advantage in that relationship? If you know, well, this is what, this person is a high C across the table from me. So this person, if I'm selling them, let's say, a car, then they're going to be interested in the warranty. They're going to want to know bumper to bumper, what is the warranty like on this car? They're going to want to know things like, what's the gas mileage? They're going to want to know, what's the resale value on this car? They're going to be interested in all of those things. I'm a high I. All you've got to do to sell me is tell me, how good am I going to look in this car? And does this actually make me look younger? Wow, that's the product for me. I'm going to jump on that one right there. So what Todd was saying earlier is, you do not sell to others the way that you want to be sold to. You sell to others the way they want to be sold to. If you love drinking Coca-Cola, then you don't want to turn around and the person across the table from you loves Sprite and you try to get them to take a Coca-Cola. What you want to do is you want to be able to serve up what their taste is really all about. And that's what DISC, and boy, there's so much in DISC when you really, really get down into the depths with it, that you can learn that honestly, and what was it you said, Brian? It added 30% to your business, just learning this particular skill set. That's what I mean, Todd. You don't have to work longer. You don't have to work harder. You just work smarter.
Yep. So I think it's one of the starting points when we get involved with an agent that joins us. We start with the DISC personal concept,
Definitely,
right? Yeah.
definitely. It's something you want to, and of course we call it, everybody knows the golden rule. We call it the platinum rule.
Yeah, the platinum rule, yeah.
You always sell to people the way they want to be sold.
Sure.
So understanding, it's something that some people do autonomic. They don't even think about it, but other people, if it's, I always like to say it's kind of like gravity. Mm-hmm. It's at work. It's holding your feet to the ground whether you know about it or not. This is something that's actively working, and if you can use it to your benefit and advantage, it changes things.
Yeah, I like that, strategic advantage, or as
Right.
Craig would tell me, he would say it creates an unfair advantage over your competition when you can do these things and know these things. So here's what everybody should do. Write down whether you believe you're a high I, high D, high S, or C. Just write that down. And your very last appointment that you went on, whether it was a buyer or a seller, I want you to write down their personality type. Okay? Now, if you're not sure about it, take a guess at it. And we'll work on that a little bit later. But that will tell you right now where you are in relationship to knowing these things that we've covered here today.
It's such an honor to do that and to be with you guys. And thank you for being an organization, because I'm telling you, there's not many that really want to make people a better husband, a better mom, a better citizen. Sure, everybody's looking to get people engaged in an organization and get productivity out of them, but most people are just concerned about at work.
And thank you, Ike, for everything you do to bring to the table. You know, you talk about image rub. It's great to learn from you. And at the end of the day, the goal is to be a better person, and you help us do that.
Honor to be a part of your team.
Well, thanks very much. Appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.